Pat and I met for the first time in about the year 2000. He'd been released from prison, and I'd written to a friend in Dublin called Anne Gallagher, whose brothers had been part of a hunger strike, and she was running a kind of a peace organisation, and she knew how to get hold of Pat. And I said, would you ask him if he would meet with me at your home, because I'd written to him and we'd exchanged correspondence. She phoned me back, said, yes, he'll come here. And I just flew to Dublin, took a taxi to her house and sat waiting in her back living room. And the door opened and in walks Patrick Magee. I think it was brave of him to do that meeting, because he had no idea what was going to happen. And he told me afterwards that when he first came to meet me in about the year 2000, he walked around the block of buildings about 3 times looking for my security. And of course I'd just taken a plane to Dublin and a taxi to the house. He was tense, perhaps a little nervous, but he was absolutely willing, and we just sat down and I told him who I was, and we spoke a little bit, and gradually we spoke for 4 or 5 hours, and we began to see each other as we normally were, normal human beings. And I said to him, look, I can only say I'm here. As far as I'm concerned, the bomb is forgiven from my point of view. Therefore we can start afresh. He did not feel in that sense, I personally need forgiveness. Since then, I think he's understood more about the hurt that the bomb caused. Well, I know he has, because he says so. I understand how I've hurt people, hurt families, damaged people, and that he deeply regrets. But at the time he felt there was no option, because that was a case of war. So I think that he's become important, but I don't think before it all happened and before we began the relationship that he saw it as a necessity. I think the action of violence was wrong, in every sense of the word. 100% it was wrong. I understand how it happened. The nationalists have been terribly badly treated by the British for 200 years. I know Pat deeply regrets the people who were hurt or killed because of the actions, but I know that he still finds it very difficult thinking of anything else that could be done. And sadly, I suspect that history will prove him right. Not morally right, not spiritually right. It's wrong. But historically, if there had not been a violent uprising in Northern Ireland, we would probably still be treating the Irish and behaving terribly towards them. He had not given any thought from the point of view of the human value, because he'd been in jail. He'd been in jail for 15 years, closed up in the Maze prisons in Northern Ireland. So when we met, it was quite a sort of an opening of the doors for both of us, and I think we both learned a huge amount.